to episode 21 of Newysports TV. I'm Ty Stedman, and first things first, I'm going to check that episode number because it's something that I like getting right, and I feel like that might not be right. I don't know, it's been 2 weeks, weekend off last week of course, with the wet weather, so we're back, and it was a very busy weekend. It is episode 21, let's get straight into it. No video recorded last night, so all of it's being done tonight. So we've got a lot to get through, starting with Saturday's games. And on feedback, I did have feedback. Personal feedback, I didn't like how I was always looking down, so I've changed that, and now I'm going to be always looking up, because right now I've got all of this projecting onto a big screen. If I just flip the screen around there, you can actually see that's what we're going to be going through right now. So that's there on the big screen. Teleprompter, I guess. It's better than looking down at an iPad, I think. So yesterday was Kahibah versus South Cardiff, the first South Cardiff game on Newysports, featured on Newysports in a very long time, and it was a pretty good day. I'll give them that. I think today was better, the Wallsend derby, but let's go through it. Under 17's result, where Kahibah FC won. We're victorious over South Cardiff Gunners 0. Probably the most evenly contested game of the day, the most entertaining game of the day. The 17's games this weekend are both the most entertaining game of the day. Kahibah, they overcame a late scare, if you will, to overcome South Cardiff. Southy, I thought they looked good early on, despite having no substitutions. I am trying to reach behind my chair and it's not working. So despite having no subs, Southy, I thought, looked pretty decent. Fullbacks Jack Harrison and Finn Merrick, they really stood out through the match, I thought. Getting forward at times, playing well defensively. Josh Iannazzo looked quality. Lucas Emmett Morley, always a threat. In the 2 games I've seen though, he hasn't really been, well, he hasn't scored in the 2 games I've seen. Probably been their best player this year from reports I've heard. Southy were the better of the 2 teams, as I've said, in the first 25 minutes. They couldn't find an end product, they'd be made to pay. Ryan Stutchberry rising above all, heading home for a goal. Half the time I say Stutchberry, half I say Stutchberry, but he knows who he is, and he was the only goal scorer of the game. Normally a centre-back, I believe, but playing in the midfield yesterday. Josh Iannazzo had a chance to even things up, but couldn't. Southy's Josh Allen, I thought, looked pretty decent. Came close to scoring, hitting the post. Aidan Kirkcaldy forced into a risky sliding tackle early in the second half. Southy, with their goalkeeper, it's been an issue all year. I've only seen this team play once before Saturday, and even then it was for only 20 minutes or so. So I don't really know too many people at Southy. Last I thought Justin Becker was goalkeeper, then he got suspended, then they had a different guy, and then he got injured. All this crap. Maybe not crap, but all this craziness happened. Ethan Spears was a goalie yesterday. I finally figured out after about 60 minutes of the game, and as soon as I figured out he was the goalie, he switched, and Justin Becker went into goals. Ethan Spears went to the right wing, and he looked really good there on the right wing, caused some headaches, and you thought maybe something might come out of him, but they couldn't find the end product. Kahibah defended well, they fought very hard. Zach Island was strong in goals. Alex Howe had a header that was saved by Zach Island, another quality Southy player who did back up for 19s. Kahibah just inundated with Southy's just coming down the flanks over and over and over and over. They couldn't get there in the end. 1-0 is the full-time score. A big result for Kahibah that temporarily put them into the top 4. Today they dropped back down to 5th with a result out at Cessnock. More on that soon. Under 19s, Kahibah FC 0, defeated by South Cardiff 3. Big win for Southy. That is the double over Kahibah. Let's talk about the game. Josh Iheanacho and Alex Howe started, both from the under-17s team, both starting their second straight game. Predictable evening out period. Generally, every one of my match reports will start with this game started evenly, because let's be honest, that's how most games start. The Gunners, they came out of nowhere and fired themselves into a lead. Some sloppiness at the back. This is good, because these matches, the 19s yesterday and first grade, were filmed, so I was able to sort of go and have a look at the footage before I write about it. You know, I write the notes down and then I re-watch it. So I got to re-watch it and saw that some sloppiness at the back cost Kahibah. The ball fell to Isaac Roman, the South Cardiff captain, and he made no mistake putting it in. Left-footed goal, only his second goal of the season, both of them against Kahibah. Big fan of Isaac Roman in the 2 games I've seen him play this year. Handy midfielder, team leader, and good to see him get on the score sheet. Southy were keeping Brock Turner, the Kahibah keeper, very busy. The defenders were busy. The tables would turn. After scoring the opening goal, Isaac Roman went from hero to villain, conceding a penalty, which I'm not going to lie, I did see it. I don't know what I said about it. I didn't really have too much of a comment on the day, and the vision of the penalty on the replay is blocked by a Kahibah player, so I can't really comment too much. I've seen about 10 or 12 penalty shouts this weekend, so I completely forget what it was. But Isaac Roman, probably hard done by a little bit, probably not needed, but actually yes, now I remember what it was. There were some sort of a few feet coming in as Bailey Cooper sort of went into the box and he was taken out. Fair enough. Bailey Cooper couldn't take the penalty, sore foot at the end of all that crazy challenges and whatnot. There was a few people trying to just take him out, I guess. Isaac Zek stood up and took the penalty, and it wasn't very good. It went over the crossbar. I don't want to say that I predicted it, but I did say that he'd miss, and that's not good. I said it to him afterwards. I don't think he was very happy about it. I don't know, but at the end of the day, it wouldn't eventually make too much difference looking at the score. A horror attempted back pass from South Cardiff. Darren Gledhill, the goalkeeper, forced to come out, and he was involved in a bit... no, don't worry about that. He was forced to save Holden McCabe's blushes. I'm thinking about games from today. Too much to get through tonight. Another talking point, Southy given a soft free kick in my mind, in a very dangerous position. James Wooten took the free kick. On first viewing, it was a very good free kick and went around the wall and beat the goalkeeper. But looking back at the replay of the game, it was just poor goalkeeping from Brock Turner. The wall probably not set up in the right spot, or maybe, but he definitely wasn't in position for it correctly, and he was found out there. Kahibah came out in improved side in the second half, but they couldn't find a way back. Another soft penalty was given. This one I will say it was soft because I watched the footage. Southy made it 3-0. James Wooten was the goal scorer there. Saved by Brock Turner originally. The penalty was poor. Wooten got a chance to head it in, and his celebration sort of said it that he got lucky there at getting a second chance at it. Southy 3-0 winners. Quality by Alex Howe and Isaac Roman in midfield. Holden McCabe at right back, apart from that horrible back pass. James Wooten was pretty good too with the 2 goals. Southy's second win of the season over Kahibah, as mentioned, and it really dents Kahibah's premiership hopes. They looked at all sorts, and Southy were good. I think this game was more of a story of just how bad Kahibah were, and they've really got to step up. They've got Belmont-Swansea and Lakes in their next 2 games, and you can't produce that against those teams and expect to get anything. Under 23s, Kahibah FC 1, defeating South Cardiff 0. Fairly even game, not too much to talk about here. The only real talking point was the goal, of course. In the 11th minute, Alex Evans chipped the ball up and it collected a Southy player. Alex told me he did this on purpose. I don't know. I've always wanted to do that in a game. Just get into the box and just sort of, put it up and try and catch someone on the arm or something, I've never had the chance. I never get the ball anywhere near the penalty box. So anyway, cue the penalty, cue Jez Turner, and cue 1-0 Kahibah. Jez Turner moving to 10 goals, I believe, for the season. The Kahibah captain becoming the first player to reach 10 goals. Another one did it today, more on that soon. Kahibah defended well, but Alex Evans, again, talking point, went a bit over the top with his complaining and got carded for dissent. No surprise. Southy had the momentum for some portions of the half, but they were unable to convert. Second half, more of the same, back and forth, no real action at the pointy ends. Southy were fluent, I thought. They passed well. They looked like a team that was sitting in third position, but up front, where it mattered, they didn't really threaten too much. Southy's purple patch ended, and Kahibah, they take a huge step towards finals. And it seems like a lot of teams around them are dropping points, or teams above them. More on that soon. I'm going to try not to start yawning. That's probably not a good thing. First grade, let's talk about it. Kahibah FC 1, defeating South Cardiff 0. So 3 of the games were 1-0. This was fairly boring, I'm going to say. It wasn't the best game I've ever seen. And it was probably one of the worst I've seen at Kahibah Oval this year. Just the second time Southy were featured on Newysports Match of the Day. As I said, last time they played it was a tight game. They were beaten 1-0 by Cooks Hill. So every time I go to watch Southy, they lose 1-0. They've got a real tough grind-out style. Let's talk about the game first. An even opening, of course, cagey if you will. A lot of ball in midfield, not much end product. I'm sounding like a repeating record. Emmanuel Okamu was proving difficult to handle, and together with Winston Oku, I think that's a really good partnership, and I think if they keep it together, they'll get better and better. At the 22-minute mark, Winston Oku was fouled on the edge of the penalty box. Live viewing, I thought it was inside the box. I thought it was a penalty. The referee said no. The referee said it was outside. And a look at some match footage, which hopefully, if I've got any sort of editing talent, I will put that match footage on right now, and you will see, just like I did. If not, go and watch the game at the 22-minute mark. Winston Oku was fouled in the box. Southy were denied a penalty. Big talking point of the game. They were robbed of a penalty, really. Who knows, they might not have got it, but it probably should have been 1-0 to Southy at that point. Josh Spencer was playing well for Kahibah. Apart from a late free kick to Southy, it was a dour end to the first half. Fairly subdued game, a grind-out affair, as I said. Not too many looks at goals for either side. Second half, Southy on the front foot. But Kahibah would eventually solidify things at the back. Andre Gumprech came on off the bench. Southy tough to break down, gallant at retaining possession. Winston Oku tracking back a few times to help out. Cameron Herring had a chance at goal, dipping shot. Kahibah at one stage looked like they were just going to get hammered. We'll talk about that in a sec. The game sort of... Andre Gumprech moved into a more advanced role in the midfield. Even getting... No, he didn't get carded. But he should have, probably, for his challenge on the Southy player. It looked like it was going to end 0-0, and then all of a sudden Riley Ferguson scored out of nowhere to give Kahibah all 3 points. let's talk about it now. Let's talk about Kahibah first. This was as poor as a performance I've seen from Kahibah this year. It reminded me of the game they played against Singleton, where they probably deserved to be beaten and they weren't. They got lucky again yesterday. Southy denied that penalty, and I feel like Kahibah just, if they show up like that against Belmont-Swansea and Lakes, it'll be 4 or 5-0. That's especially against Lakes. Belmont-Swansea maybe aren't the sort of team that punish too much on their day, but Lakes, if you give Lakes a sniff and if you play like that against Lakes, you're going to get found out real quickly. So Kahibah they've got the bye. Well, of course they've got the bye next week. It's FFA Cup. But they've got the bye midweek. Of course, the whole round 14 being played this week. Kahibah won't be playing. So with that in mind, they've got a week or two to get it together, and hopefully they will for their sake. Southy, very solid. A very, very solid team. They looked like a team that were one of the best in the competition at passing around in midfield, defended solidly. Up front, the goalkeeper was good, Mikel Breckenridge. Up front, nothing really. Winston Oku is a brilliant player on his day, but couldn't find the net. And I just feel like they just need something up front, something else, something more. And I had a chance to talk to Andrew Packer after the game, the coach, and I think he agreed much of the same. They're a very, very good team at retaining possession, and they just need that end product. I think you'll see them win a few games towards the back end of the year. Let's go around the grounds for Saturday, just the one game, Singleton and Belmont-Swansea. In the under-17, Singleton 2, defeated by Belmont-Swansea 3. Theo Morau, I'm going to say is how it's pronounced, and Trey Pradlock with the goals. Belswan goal scorers, I don't have them on the screen, unfortunately. That's not good, is it? I do have them in my email, wherever that is. So we'll go through. Let's have a look at it. There you go. Apologies to Singleton, to the person who emailed me from up there. He knows who he is. I asked him what the story with this new player is, and I feel stupid now because he told me, I just didn't see it. I was at the Gardens today reading my email. So Theo Morau, a new player, 15-year-old French exchange student at Singleton. How about that? Exchange program from France, and you end up in Singleton. That's a bit of a cheap shot, isn't it? Maybe not. It could be worse, couldn't it? You could be anywhere. You could be Windale or something, somewhere like that. I was going to say Cessnock, but I'm not going to say Cessnock. I avoided going there today for that reason. No. So Theo Morau scored in the 29th minute. Maru, I'm going to say. Maru would be how you pronounce it in French. 29th minute goal for Theo. 31st minute goal for Trey Pradlock, scoring again. That evened things up after Matthew Whitney and Jacob Windsor gave Belmont the lead in the 14th and 28th minute. So 2-2 at half time. Belmont getting 2 early goals, of course. And then right at the end, keeper dropped it. Oh, pardon me. I'm getting confused with this report. Okay, there you go. Jacob Windsor scoring the match-winning goal with 5 minutes on the clock. Let's move on. Theo Maru getting man of the match for Singleton. In the 19s, let's have a look at it. Nathan Hall getting the goal for Singleton in the 68th minute. It didn't mean anything because Joel Nicholson got a hat-trick. Will Dundas got a goal and Arch Johnson got a goal. Belmont-Swansea, terrific, well-drilled, held their shape, clinical with passing and finishing, and that's from a Singleton person. So Bell-Swan's very, very good and looking brilliant in the 19s at the moment. Jeremy Wild, man and match for Singleton, made a few good one-on-one saves to keep the scoreline semi-respectable, I guess. Bell-Swans, big game midweek for them up at Fortin. Bit of a banana peel there. They need to win that one and keep their form going. In the 23s, how about this? Singleton 5 defeating Belmont-Swansea 1. Wow. Rob Field 2 goals, Brad Cox and Tom Golding. Good to see Tom Golding get on there. Terrific headed goal from the free kick. Definitely not a good day for Bell Swans. Tom Langdon getting their goal, but they go down 5-1. Belmont-Swansea 23s. They need to pull their finger out, or they will end up out of the top 4 sooner rather than later. And that's a simple situation, really. Inconsistency will do that for you. Rob Field, man of the match, in a good team display from the Singleton Strikers. We move on to first grade, where Singleton 0 were defeated by Belmont-Swansea 2. Similar story to the Kahibah game. Singleton, they've told me that they were the better team on the day. That's debatable. I wasn't there, so we'll move on. But anything could happen when it's 0-0 with 4 minutes to go. Josh Hall scores in the 89th minute. Josh Sutton scores in the 92nd minute. Bell Swans win 2-0. Singleton pulling their hair out at that. Matthias France was the man of the match for Singleton. Bell Swans winning up there. Very, very big win for them. And they keep pressure on Lakes at the top of the table. So we move on to We'll move on to NPL results from yesterday, where the Newcastle Jets youth played Western Workers Bears. In the under-19s, the under-16 emerging Jets were 3-0 winners over the Bears. Under-22s, Western winning 2-0. And in first grade, Jets youth 3, Western 1. It's garbage from Western at the moment. I know I don't really comment too much on NPL, but they're dead last, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. They're very lucky there's no relegation this year, because there's a team 50 years in a row in first grade. The 1 year there's no relegation. Losing to the Jets youth 3-1, that's not a good look. And even so, they got some new players during the week, a Brazilian import. It's not good for Western. Valentine versus Charlestown City at Blacksmiths. Valentine's field still banished to not playable status. Not sure what to say about that. I definitely feel like Valentine, I'll put it on record, I feel like Valentine do need to build a good complex, and I think that's in the making. I think it's a 5 to 10 year sort of thing, maybe even 3 to 5 years. Let's talk about the result. Under 19s, Charlestown City 8 defeating Valentine 0. I think the best thing to do is just to move on from that. That's a flogging. Charlestown that's a real flogging. Valentine 3-2 in the under 22s. That's a big win for them over Charlestown. And also a big win in first grade, Valentine 3-2. In the under-17s, Adamstown 1, Broadmeadow Magic 1, and Maitland FC 0, defeated by the Jaffers 1. So we'll move on to Sunday, Derby Day at the Gardens. Of course, I was going to head to Cessnock to watch Cooks Hill play, but I didn't, and I made the best decision. I'm very, very happy with the decision I made, even just based on this game here. Let's not talk about it. Let's go through the other games first, because I feel like talking about the best game should be saved till last. In the under-19s, Wallsend FC 0, defeated by West Wallsend 0. I'll take a drink because I don't like talking about 0-0 draws. So Angelos Carvelis started in midfield for Wallsend, 17 standout as of late. A back and forth tussle. I'll admit it, I didn't see too much of this game for various reasons. I'll get into those reasons. I was on the sideline doing photography, as always, at the Gardens, and at halftime I was kicked off. To have a lack of a better term, one referee had some not a disagreement, but he said, "You're not supposed to be here, you don't have a tag." I've never had that problem. I get it, that's the rule, but I'm just going to say that I do know that there's another photographer who has been to Wallsend who hasn't had a tag. And then during first grade today, there was a cameraman from NBN News that just walked straight onto the field without a tag. So I'm just going to say, you know, I'm gonna have my personal opinions, of course, but look, I moved out of I was in the technical area, or close to, but I moved out of the way after that, down to the corner, taking photos. Look, that's just BS, okay? That's crap. And you know, I go up in the grandstand and take photos from there, and you can go on and look at the gallery of photos and see the difference from the 19s game that I was shooting to first grade. It's too far away, and I think the referees should understand that at the Gardens I have to go on the field. It's as simple as that, and photographers everywhere, they go on the field. I don't have a media pass from Northern. They said I don't need one. So apologies on my behalf for the lack of good photos for the 19s, and that is the reason I didn't see a lot of this game, is because I was running back and forth trying to just get some wording from the Federation. Definitely going to see what I can do about that for next time. In my mind, there's a lot more things the referees should be worrying about than who's on the sideline. Perhaps some of the missed penalty calls by that same referee today. Let's get off of that. We move on. Very hard to move on after that. Matt Pennington was up against his former side, the former Wallsend goalkeeper. Very smart career choice, or maybe not career, but very smart choice for the season to leave Wallsend and go there to Westy. He had 2 games today. Dylan Merrick also pretty good, the goalkeeper that of course was sharing that role with Pennington at Wallsend. I'm not going to lie, this was a pretty dour affair. Cal Stokes had a decent heading chance. Matt Crawford, I believe it was, tried to finish but couldn't finish, only found the crossbar. Angelos Carvelis had a chance. Jake and Ray came off injured. Wallsend, I thought, better side. Westy had more structure in the first half. I just want to get through this. I don't like talking about 0-0 draws. The second half was more of the same, let's be honest. Back and forth, no real end product. Liam Muir forced off with a nasty looking leg injury. I haven't heard a report, but he was straight off to hospital, so I'm hoping that it's good news and not bad. With 3 minutes on the clock and myself out in the car park, so I didn't actually see this, I heard a lot of cheering and stuff. Wallsend gave away a penalty, it's on the video. Matt Turner brought down in the box, up stepped James Barnes, and he missed it. And that was the chance to win. Saved by Merrick in goals, and that was all she wrote. James Barnes, I've been told by his teammates, was 17 from the penalty spot. He has never missed a penalty until today. In the derby, that's what happens. A lacklustre affair. Decent back and forth play, but no real good goals. No goals. Angelos Carvelis, I thought, was probably man of the match for Wallsend. A real standout today. Okay, we move on to 23s, where again, this was pretty poor game. It was poorly contested by one side, and thus Wallsend FC 7 defeated West Wallsend 0. I don't need to go on and on about this. Matt Pennington backed up in goals for Westy, and it was a baptism of fire in the 23s grade. Trent Richards scored early on. He got a penalty not long after that. Pennington saved it, and it just all went to a very bad place after that. It all went to crap, for the lack of a better term. Tegan Marcus squared the ball to Trent Richards, 2-0. Tegan Marcus scored again, 3-0. 2 minutes later, Tegan Marcus, 4-0. And then right on half-time, Tegan Marcus, 5-0. Game over. By far, game over, 5-0 at half-time. There's nothing you can do about that. In the second half, Marcus came close again, smashing the upright. Wallsend, I thought, they were just going through the motions. Trent Richards sealed his hat-trick in the 62nd minute and scored late on to take himself to the top of the 23 scorers list. 4 goals today for Trent Richards, 3 for Tegan Marcus, and it should have been 1 or 2 for Jackson Manning as well, the youngster coming off the bench, playing a more advanced role, and he obviously doesn't have a left foot to finish with. That's what it seemed like. It was good to see Ben Priest, Dan Strazzari and Jackson Manning coming off the bench, all under 17s players there at Wallsend. They all played very well. I thought Ben Priest was good. Strazzari probably has had better days, but Ben Priest I thought was probably the better of the 3. Jackson Manning very good in the 17s today as well. We'll talk about that soon. To add to that, Wallsend should have had double digits. I'm not going to lie, Westy looked disinterested, and at times it was just disgraceful performance. One of the worst team efforts I've seen this year. You know, when I get negative, I get really negative, and this just wasn't good enough. For a derby, to show up like that for a derby is just piss poor. And they were found out, and they need to move on quickly because they got Lakes on Wednesday night. A more clinical side like Lakes would have put 10, 12, maybe more goals in, count them. For as many goals as Wallsend scored, 7, Tegan Marcus was probably offside, probably double that. Just so many offside calls, and it got to that point in the second half where it's 5-0, and it's just offside, stop-starts, fouls, and it was just boring. You know, I like seeing competitive games, and this wasn't competitive. There was no contest. Top 4 beckons for Wallsend. They have a huge game on Wednesday night against Cooks Hill that will be featured on Newysports. We move on to the first grade Wallsend derby. Wallsend FC 2 defeating West Wallsend 1. I thought the earlier game at Johnson Park was the better of the 2 games. Westy, they started better, and I think they were better on the day. Maybe not up front. Jared Olivieri, the big dog, he had a chance or 2 early on, but it was Trent Milton who opened the scoring, a diving header that just snuck over the goal line. And talking about goal lines, that'll come into talk more later on. Westy, they kept at it, they couldn't find a reply. 1-0 at half time. In the second half, Jared Olivieri tried an acrobatic finish and didn't happen. It would have been a very good goal. Ryan Van Kemenade I thought was pretty decent, and I noticed he was playing a bit further forward in midfield compared to centre-back as normal. Westy's defence today was very strong. I'll give him that much. A controversial moment, the first of 2 in the space of 6 minutes. In the 61st minute of the game, Ty Jones was brought down in the penalty box. I was sitting in the grandstand, I jumped up, and I was grabbing the camera expecting, here's a penalty, here's a yellow card, all that sort of good stuff. And it wasn't. It was waved away. And I've watched the replay of the game, and unfortunately there's a New FM First Division flag, a sponsor flag blocking the view of the incident. But at the ground, I thought this was a penalty, and I stick with that decision. I think Westy were screwed out of a penalty here, and this I think is a bigger talking point than the second talking point, where moments later a Tim Davies corner was flicked on by Chris Gazzard seemingly cleared off the line by Bryson Cox, only for the linesman to rule it as a goal. On second viewing and third viewing and fourth, fifth, sixth, I've watched it countless times. I've watched it on slow-mo. I uploaded it to Facebook on slow-mo. I think it was a goal. I think his right foot, it may come up on the screen now, I think his right foot was behind the goal line as he's kicked it out. But my gripe with this game is that denied penalty in the 61st minute. That could have changed everything, and I think it was. I would have liked to have seen an angle where the flag isn't blocking the challenge, but the refereeing was questionable at times in first grade today. Westy, they rolled the dice late on. Nick Evans came onto the field and the gamble paid off instantly. He whipped in a ball, Sam Holt put it in the net, 2-1 with 6 minutes to go, and then the kitchen sink came out, Tyler Warren came out, the goalkeeper, and suddenly, next thing you know, he's a left winger. Westy just throwing everything they had at Wallsend, they couldn't get it. It's not mentioned here in the review of the game. I don't know why I didn't mention it, but Teague Marcus was sent off late on, and again, this is the refereeing. Andrew Carney it was, had Marcus by the shirt. Very, very obvious foul, and it was waved away. That was earlier on, and then it happened again, and he had Marcus again by the shirt. Referee waves it away. Marcus blew up, got yellow carded, blew up some more, and got red carded. And you know, that happens. Dissent's not a good thing, but I don't think if the correct call had been made, then maybe the dissent wouldn't have been there. But that's my personal opinion. I thought he had him by the shirt. I haven't seen the video footage yet, though, of that incident, so I can't really comment too much. I thought Westy today were hard done by. Very, very difficult game for them, and a very difficult loss to take, and a loss that, quite frankly, I believe is the end of West Wallsend's finals hopes for 2016. I don't want to sound grim, but that was a hugely important fixture today, and they were unable to get a result. That's the stats, that's the facts, the cold, hard facts. I was just about to move on to around the grounds, because normally, you know, I do the grades in order, but we haven't done the 17s game. This is a 600-word review, and this was, in my opinion, maybe not technically. There's probably been technically better games, more technically sound games, but in terms of entertainment, in terms of some of the goals, and just the general, you know, the general match, this was the game of the season, not just in under 17s, but in any grade in UFM this season. I think it beats Kahibah and Belmont-Swansea's 2-2 draw back in round 5 or whatever it was. This was my decision to go to the Wallsend derby instead of going to Cessnock. I wanted to go see this game. Two teams that have won 7 straight playing derby football at the Gardens. You can't get much better unless it was at Wembley, not Wembley Stadium, at Johnston Park. And that's another thing I'll say. I think this game would have been better at Westy. The Gardens, I just cannot like it as much as I like Westy. More traditional football ground. I think even Wallsend will agree with that. Maybe it's the dog track, maybe it's a grandstand being a million miles away from the field, but it's definitely better at Westy. The facilities are better at Wallsend though, I'll give them that. It took 7 minutes for the opening goal to arrive. Jack Blomfield had a free kick and it was deflected in off of Travis Lockwood. Apologies that this wasn't in the match footage. My cameraman was unable to set up quick enough. We were running a little bit late, so some of that's my fault. Watching England versus Russia this morning. The less said about that, the better. England owe me $90. Gambled responsibly. Blomfield's free kick deflected in by Travis Lockwood. some say maybe own goal. No, definitely not. It was Blomfield's goal. 1-0 to Westy. 8 minutes later, the ball fell to Josh Knight on the edge of the box, and typically the result normally is a goal, and it was 2-0. Knighty puts Westy in front in the derby. You couldn't write it. Westy were just running away with it, and I was thinking, wow, what's going to happen here? 2 minutes later, Jacob Ray broke away and was brought down by Josh Snedden, a correct call in the penalty box. The penalty was converted by Ben Priest, and that was the first goal Josh Snedden has conceded in a month. He's gone 4 straight games without conceding in the 17s. I'm not sure if he's played 19s in that time and conceded, but in the actual 17s he hasn't conceded for 4 games until today. Moments later, Grant Scott had his pocket picked by Jacob Ray, and then Jacob Ray made no mistake, putting it past Snedden to draw Wallsend level. 4 goals in the first 20 minutes, and in the space of 3 minutes, suddenly it was 2-2. Just brilliant theatre. Some wayward challenges, I thought. Jaden Lee's probably the worst of those, getting cautioned for a sliding tackle. The Westy midfielder, I'm going to say. Maybe winger? No, midfielder. Dan Strozari made some inroads down the left flank, a very good run at one stage, a powering run down the left side. Half-time approached, and one of the many duels of the day between Josh Knight and Jackson Manning saw Knight get the best of Manning, which I think was the only time all day that he did that, and he made it count too, putting Westy back in front 3-2 at half-time. In the 45th minute, a talking point. Sam Willis crashed into Jared Hayter. The referee waved it away. I actually spoke to the ref about this, and I think it was a 50-50 call. And by speaking to the referee, I don't mean I went up to him and said, "Hey mate, you got it wrong." But yeah, I did manage to speak to the ref, and again, it was a very difficult call to make. One that probably didn't affect the game as much as that first grade call. An equaliser beckoned in the 51st minute. A slightly under-hit and fairly tame-looking cross from Angus Hall. He played all right today, but it didn't look like it was going anywhere. There wasn't enough power on it, and it just somehow got tapped on by Bailey Rufo and ended up at Jacob Ray's feet, and he scored. It was probably not the best goal to concede for Westy. The ever-entertaining battle between Josh Knight and Jackson Manning, it was on again. 1 or 2 collisions, and then a call that went against Knighty. He got frustrated, and then a few minutes later another call that went against him, and he pushed Manning and was carded for it and was hastily substituted, because I think that a red card would have been sooner rather than later for Knighty. Wallsend definitely doing a good job of getting into his ear. Both sides, there was a lot of banter, there was a lot of crowd noise. It was a really tough game. I thought the referee did a brilliant job to keep control of it. Wallsend's defence are working overtime. Jackson Manning was their best on the day. Wow, he was a standout today. Darcy Hall, the captain, played well. Gabriel Barron-Smith played well as well. And even then, Angus Hall and Travis Lockwood backing up off the bench, pretty decent. Sam Willis played at fullback a bit. Good rotation there for Wallsend. The game, it went on, and it seemed everything Wallsend did, West Wallsend had a sucker punch in return. And I think one of the Westy coaches agreed with the Wallsend coach. I was sort of in the crossfire of some of the banter back and forth, but I think the Westy coach agreed that Wallsend were probably the better side on the day, technically speaking, but Westy made their chances count, and with 15 minutes to go, Jared Crawford, the right back, got the ball, and he took a shot, and it ended up in the net. And it was from way out, and it was just a stunning moment. One of the more entertaining goals I've seen this year. I was just thinking, wow, hadn't scored all year, and a player who I've seen a bit of this year in the 17s, and a player who hasn't really stood out. He's consistent, but he hasn't had that one moment, and today was his moment, and he won the game. Yes, they'd score again, but it was that goal that won them the game. That was just a straight up, just uppercut straight to Wallsend's jaw. In terms of sucker punches, that's a coach killer, to concede that goal. Wallsend's chances were circling the drain, and they went down the drain. A soft penalty was given against Darcy Hall. Again, 50-50 call. It was converted by Grant Scott. Westy 5-3 with 10 minutes to go. Cameron Jefferson-Bilb forced to make a save against Josh Knight. Almost made it 6. And then right at the end of the game, there had to be a bit of an incident. Darcy Hall probably having a bit of a brain fade. Getting involved in a scuffle with Grant Scott. They were both yellow carded. Darcy Hall was already on a yellow and thus sent off. And it was a bit of a walk of shame for the Wallsend captain, much to the cheers and jeers from the West Wallsend players and fans. Westy know how to give banter, I'll tell them that much. And it was their day. It was definitely their day. You've seen the video of the team song. That was a hell of a win today, and a win that fires them into premiership favouritism. They've got Lakes on Thursday night. That's the biggest game of the season for them. They've won 8 straight. Can anyone stop them? Okay, let's move on. We're getting there. We'll go over to Cessnock City limits. Maybe make a parody song. That would be something, wouldn't it? Find out why this computer's not working. There it is. Okay. We'll go to Fortin first, where the Fortin Redbacks 2 were defeated by Lake Macquarie City 3 in first grade. Nathan McAllister and Tim Gleeson getting Fortin back into the game after Lakes' Blake Green had 2 goals, and an own goal had Lakes 3-0 at half time. Fortin, they came back, give them credit. They threw everything they had, and they were unable to get a result against Lakes. Lakes survive. Not their best display, I feel, looking at that scoreline and being 3-0 up at half time. They've got a difficult game against Westy midweek. The premiership, of course, is still on the line. It's going to be an interesting run-in. Lakes, Bell Swans, Wallsend, even Kahibah is still technically a chance. So it's getting interesting. Finals, they're out of the picture for my mind for Fortin. This was, like Westy, this was a very, very important game for the Fortin Redbacks today, and they lost. That's a cold, hard fact. They've got the FFA Cup next week. They've got Singleton, which if they win that, which, let's be honest, they can, because they've beaten Singleton twice, then they'll find themselves probably against Edgeworth, Hamilton or Lambton for a one-off shot at national television, which probably one of the biggest games in the history of the Fortin Redbacks Football Club. So it's a big, big week for Fortin. And before that, they've got Bell Swans midweek. So back-to-back games, potentially 3 games in the space of 5 days for Daryl McAllister and Fortin. I'd imagine that they're probably going to rest some players in that midweek game. Finals probably doesn't look very likely, so it's going to be interesting to see what Daryl McAllister comes up with in terms of rotating players. I can't see them playing 2 or 3 games in the space of 4 or 5 days. That's a big ask. Cessnock City 2 were defeated by Cooks Hill United 3. Cessnock had the lead. Good goalkeeping, I've been told, and this was from Cooks Hill, so it must have been good. Matt Zeckel, good goalkeeping today. The home side fell to another defeat though. Nick Hugo and Wade Atwell getting goals. For Cooks Hill, Tommy Spare getting another goal. There was an own goal, and the standout moment was a delightful long-range goal from Asher Beasley. who one of the coaches messaged me and just his words just said Asher Beasley ... wow exclamation mark, and then he described the goal. A player who I think has just been brilliant in the last couple games and rewarded for that. Has started first grade 3 weeks in a row and scores today. Also good to see Sam Hawke get voted man of the match for the Cookers. Big fan of Hawkey, and that is Cooks Hill's first win in a while in first grade. A gutsy win, and a win that nearly puts me to sleep, to be honest. No, a win that I feel gives them a little bit of confidence going into the next few games. They got Wallsend midweek. That's a big test. Youth against experience that's going to be that game. Under 23s, Fortin Redbacks 1 defeated by Lake Macquarie City 2. I don't have the Lakes goal scorers yet, and I still don't. I was just thinking someone may have messaged them. Nope. Okay, so I'll get those, and they'll be available somewhere. If not, just find out of the club. I don't know. They'll know who they are. Nathan Clifton scored for Fortin, but it was Lakes who'd win 2-1. 11 o'clock at night, this is when I start getting tired. Lakes stretched their lead at the top of the table to 8 points. Due to this, Cessnock City 3 defeated Cooks Hill United 0. I've been saying it for a while now, Cooks Hill have been inconsistent in the 23s, but I think now I can say that they've been consistent. They've been consistently poor. It has all fallen apart, and a 3-0 loss to Cessnock. With respect to Cessnock, that's probably a new low. Mitchell Cox got a hat-trick. That's brilliant for him, brilliant for Cessnock. A Cooks Hill person who doesn't normally praise opposition players that much, said that Shannon Atwell was... Actually, yeah, he does. He praises opposition players. He said Shannon Atwell, the goalkeeper, was incredible today. So I'll give him a shout out. I wasn't there, but Cessnock 3-0 clean sheet over Cooks Hill. Cookers have got Wallsend on Wednesday night, and if they lose that, then all of a sudden they could find themselves out of the top 4. That's the situation for Cooks Hill. In the under-19s, how about this? Fortin Redbacks 4 defeating Lake Macquarie City 3. They've done it again. After Lakes lost to Fortin in shocking fashion earlier this year, they've lost again to Fortin. There's something about Fortin beating Lakes in the 19s. Jack Halverson got 2 goals. Dry Bowen got 1 and an own goal. There was, I think, 3 or 4 own goals around the grounds today, which I'm going to play that to wind, because it was at times windy today, especially at Fortin up on the hill. Maybe I'm just being a bit too defensive of, players conceding own goals. Fortin avoids slipping to the bottom of the table, and that's just a big win for them. 6 points against Lakes this year. You can't go wrong, can you? Out at Cessnock, how about this one? Cessnock City 2 defeating Cooks Hill United 1. Cessnock picking up their biggest win of the season. Elijah Harrison scored for Cooks Hill, but again, inconsistent. And that is potentially the end of their finals hopes. Well, it's not. But it's a big dent, and they find themselves 5 or 6 points outside the finals. There's really good teams in this comp. Belmont-Swansea, Kahibah, West Wallsend, Lakes. There's another one that's sort of, Singleton can be good. Of course not this week. Cooks Hill need to get it together in the 19s, but Cessnock, it was all about them today. Will Forbes getting 2 goals, a brilliant player, and a player who's really stood out as of late. I'll be interested to do the goal scoring charts and seeing just how many he has across the grades. He'd be getting a few. So Cessnock move off the bottom of the table, Toronto move to the bottom, and Cessnock play Toronto midweek, so big game there. Finally, under 17s, Ford and Redbacks 0, defeated by Lake Macquarie City 3. A big win for Lakes. They've been a bit poor as of late, losing some games and drawing some games. They get back on track. They're still not top of the table. Adam Kenyon, Curtis McRitchie and Preston Cunningham got goals. 3-0, a clean sheet for Brady McRitchie. Can't go wrong with that. They have they have their biggest game of the year on Thursday night at Macquarie Field. Lakes versus West Wallsend in the 17s. That is a huge game on paper, and premiership potentially a premiership decider. Last but not least, Cessnock City 1, defeated by Cooks Hill United 10. I don't know what to say about this. Last time they played, of course, Cessnock lost 11-2. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they've got a fear of black and white shirts, or they've just fallen to pieces twice against Cooks Hill. And Cessnock, I've watched them, and there's been days where they've played well. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if they had minimum numbers or whatnot, but Will Forbes got a goal. Even when they get smashed by double digits, Will Forbes still gets a goal. And I said in my preview, I said these words: Cessnock won't cop 11 goals, but a win is a difficult ask at this stage. And my tip was 4-1 or something like that. Well, they didn't cop 11 goals, they copped 10. I don't know what to say about it. 21-3 on aggregate. Cookers were ruthless. Cessnock just poor. Cooks Hill into the top 4. Let's talk about it. 5 goals to Cameron Walmsley. Wow. Proving that on his day he can be a very, very dangerous attacker, and today was his day. 3 to the ever-reliant Damon White. 1 to Fergus Allen, midfielder. An underappreciated midfielder, and not really mentioned that much, but a very, very consistent player, and an own goal. All I can say is I'm going to move on, because Cessnock, that's just awful. Cookers have a big game during the week against Wallsend. Semi-final preview, and a game that Cooks Hill, I feel, need to win to prove that, hey, we're premiership contenders. At the moment, Wallsend, Westy and Lakes are the ones I feel like are premiership contenders in the 17s. Okay, we move on to the last part of this video. We're approaching an hour. We've probably gone past an hour because I haven't put the intro video in yet. Under 17s NPL, Valentine 1, Emerging Jets 1. Charlestown City 1, Hamilton Olympic 3. Under 19s, Adamstown Rosebud 1, defeated by Broadmeadow Magic 5. A big win there for Magic. Hamilton Olympic pick up a win over Maitland, 3-1. Edgeworth downed 5-0 by the Jaffers. That's a bit of a shock in the 19s. 22s, Magic 4-1 over Adamstown. Olympic 4-1 over Maitland, it should say. It says Magic, it should say Maitland. Edgeworth 2-0 over the Jaffers. And in first grade, Adamstown Rosebud 3, drawing Broadmeadow Magic 3. I've heard from reports at the ground that Magic should have won. Should have had a few goals, a few more goals scored. Big result for Adamstown, and a frustrating one for Magic. And look back a few weeks ago with that draw with Valentine, and they've got to win. They've got to win games if they want to win the premiership, because teams like the Edgeworth Eagles, who won 5-0 today over the Jaffers, they're just going to win the premiership. Magic have to step up. Edgeworth 5-0 over the Jaffers. They could very well meet next week in the FFA Cup. Lambton, I feel, aren't a very good team this year, looking at their results so far. They got Bell Swans next week. of course, I follow the New FM competition, so I'm going to be there, maybe even in a Bell Swan shirt. But you know, I like the Jaffers, John Majerowski, Joe Wheelhouse, but I feel like this year they're not really up to it at this stage. Losing 5-0, no excuses for that. How about this one? Hamilton Olympic 1, drawing Maitland FC 1. Olympic, I've heard, dominated, and again, it's one of those stories. They got the goal and they just dominated, couldn't get another, and then with a few minutes to go, Maitland score, and that's that. Olympic, they'll be very frustrated because, you know, they're a fairly commanding sort of club. They're a club that don't like dropping points at home at Darling Street. Their fans would have been very, very annoyed with that. So Maitland get a decent result there. So we move on. This week, let's talk about it. I might do a little special FFA Cup preview. I might do a preview for the midweek games, who knows. But midweek, I will be Wednesday night at Cooks Hill and Thursday night at Cooks Hill. Cookers versus Wallsend. First grade 23s on Wednesday at 6 o'clock and 7:45, and the same times on Thursday with the 17s, followed by the 19s. There's also games. Bellswans travel to Fortin. Lakes hosting West Wallsend. South Cardiff will be in action against Singleton. That is at Singleton. And then Toronto is hosting Cessnock. So a full round of New FM fixtures this Wednesday and Thursday. I can't wait, it's going to be good. So message me scores and all that. I'll be running the speaker at Cooks Hill. Hopefully we don't get noise complaints at 10 o'clock at night when the games are ending, but we'll see what happens. That's that. The Zone League show will be later in the week. It will be back. And that is all we have here on Newysports TV. It's been a very long episode. I thank you for sticking with me. And I will see you, if I don't see you in the midweek games, I'll see you next week for FFA Cup action. A big weekend of action next week. National television beckons for 2 teams. I'll see you then. This has been Newysports TV episode 21. I'm Ty Sedman. See you next week.